Welcome into the Fade. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis, joined by Kelly Stewart, a.k.a. Kelly in Vegas. I got massacred in the NFL, but a fifth straight week of winners in college football. We'll see if we can keep that mojo going. We're taping a day early, so there's all sorts of injury news that is out there that may end up impacting some of these lines. So this is a Wednesday afternoon show. I notice every now and then I jump in the mention, somebody's like, that number that you gave out is, yeah, okay. These are numbers as of Wednesday afternoon. I'm sorry if they have changed since then. So let's start, Kelly, as we often do, with Thursday Night Football, which has a monster audience. 49ers-Rams were a day early out here. Again, usually we do this show on a Thursday, but I'm taking the Rams. I've been impressed with them. It's a big number. Makes me a little bit nervous, but it also makes me think that the Rams are going to run away with this game, sitting at right around 6.5. What say you?
Listen, that could be the reality, but Clay, at this point, you're talking about numbers. You can't bet the Rams at this number. At 6.5, 5.5, I mean, all the value is gone. You could have 3.5, either in the look-ahead line or earlier in the week. This is a tough one. You've got San Francisco, who's been riddled with injuries for a better part of the season. You've got them off a loss from Jacksonville. On the flip side, you got the Rams, who had a heartbreaking loss at Philadelphia and got gifted a win last week by the Colts. I mean, A.D. Mitchell, not only did he drop the ball at the 1-yard line prior to breaking the goal line plane, he also was the guy that got the whistle for being offsides that called back the Jonathan Taylor touchdown. You heard Puka Nacua might not be fully healthy for this game, but it appears he's going to be fine. I think this is a good spot for San Francisco to bounce back here with too many points. We'll see what Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey can do. But look, he cannot turn the ball over 4 times like he did last week. Ultimately, I'm not going to get to the window on this Thursday night game. I will say Thursday night unders have just been a cash cow this season. Not a single game outside of that one Green Bay Washington game has gone over the total there. Primetime unders still doing very well. So keep that in mind. Slightly into San Francisco, but I'll probably be on the under.
What do you like the most in the NFL this week? What stands out?
Yeah, there's a couple of spots here. It's weird. I'm not a really big totals better, Clay, but I do like a couple of totals here. We'll get to them in a minute. I'll start with the side. I like the Colts over Las Vegas. If you remember, I was on Las Vegas last week. They had multiple opportunities to win that game, but the gambling god said, no, we gave you a game winner on a blocked field goal, so we're going to take one away. And that's ultimately what happened to the Raiders there late. But the reality is they played soft defense there in that fourth quarter. Caleb Williams was able to take things away. And oh, by the way, Geno Smith is an absolute utter turnover machine. I don't want any part of him traveling east for the third time this season, right? This is their third trip. I know it's not the Eastern time zone, it's in Central, but it doesn't matter. These travel schedules can start to catch up with you. Ashton Genty looks like the next Bo Jackson, and that's great. But I just don't see him being able to run away literally with this one. I've been impressed with Daniel Jones. Unfortunately, that interception that he threw early in that Rams game wasn't pretty, but he bounced back, was able to show some promise. I like what he's doing in Indianapolis. I think laying the 6.5 is where I'm looking here. And a couple other totals. I mentioned those primetime totals. Sunday night, Buffalo, New England. I like the under in this one. I know New England just exploded with offense last week, and Buffalo was, playing catch up because they were toying around with their food with the Saints, making all of us think that they may lose that game when the reality, it was never in doubt. 9-1 to the over for New England when they play winning teams, but I expect Buffalo to tighten things up this week, and we see some regression to the mean and see an under. And then, as I mentioned, Monday Night Football, also like the under there. Jacksonville was on them last week, like them in that spot. Kansas City's defense has been nails, lights out all season long, while that offense continues to struggle. They did get to take advantage of a very disparaged, we'll call them, Ravens defense last week, but I think we're going back to the under 46 this week.
I like a bunch of teams that are big favorites, but also one big underdog. Let me explain. I love the Lions to blow out the Bengals. I know this number is up double digits. I think the Bengals have quit. I think that they are in severe, dire straits, and the Lions are going to run all over the field on them. That performance that they put up against your Broncos is one of the worst performances by any team that I've seen all season. So I think that the Bengals are sick right now. I think the Lions win big. I'm not betting I'm not betting on my Titans at all. I think this is a dumpster fire of epic proportions. I don't think the Cardinals are great, and I think laying 7.5 is tough because they're such enigmatic team themselves. I just think the Titans are awful, and I don't think that the Cardinals have to be great. I think if they can score 24 points or 21 points, they probably cover the 7.5. Then I like the Ravens. I know we don't know what's going to happen with Lamar Jackson. Honestly, it looks like he's probably not going to play again. We are taping this on Wednesday afternoon. He was not at practice today. But I don't think the Texans are any good. And I think even if the Ravens have to go with backups, I think they're better than the Texans. The Texans are not good. And so getting the Ravens potentially as a home underdog, which is where you get them right now, best case scenario, Lamar Jackson plays. And Kelly, I bet, this would be like a touchdown line if Lamar Jackson were to play, right? That's a big drop off, but probably.
I see at least a 6-point line move, yes.
Yeah, you get a substantial advantage here if he ends up playing. If he doesn't play, I still think the Ravens are going to win outright, so I like them as the home underdog. And then a couple of more. You mentioned that Patriots-Bills game. I think you said you were on the under. I love what Mike Vrabel with the Titans was able to do against the Bills and Josh Allen. I know it's a little bit of a different team, but he always had a game plan defensively that made sense against them. 7.5-point underdogs. I think Vrabel's one of the best coaches in the NFL. You're starting to see the culture and the game plan impact. I don't think the Patriots are great, but you're starting to see him get the most out of them. I've seen Vrabel get a lot out of his teams in really big games when there wasn't much there. So I'm taking the Patriots as over a touchdown underdog to cover against the Bills. And then in your Broncos game, Broncos-Eagles, I'm hopping on the over. And then I like the Vikings in Europe for 2 straight weeks. Not that big of a favorite over the Browns, who are making a new quarterback switch. I like the Vikings to get the win there. So those are all of my NFL picks.
Yeah, Clay, look, I hope you're right on Arizona. I made the game 24-13. I'm going to be using Arizona as my survivor pick. But like we saw Arizona do in New Orleans, they let up late in the fourth quarter to inferior teams. And that's my only thing that scares me about laying over a touchdown here. Hand up, I'm going to take the easy way out. There's some great teaser spots this week, and the Cardinals is one of them. The Broncos-Eagles, I agree with you. I think that could be an absolute and utter shootout. If possible, we'll see what that Eagles offense is able to do. We saw them light up that really solid Bucs defense again last week. I don't think either defense is going to have an answer for either offense.
All right, let's go to college football. This is where college football, Kelly, needs a commissioner. Last week was loaded with so many incredible matchups. This week, comparatively, a bit of a dud. Just like September 27th was amazing. The week before, September 20th, I think if I remember correctly, was a bit of a dud. They're not doing a good job of segmenting out the big games. With that in mind, I would say the biggest games out there, Miami FSU is, to me, the biggest game. We'll get to Alabama Vanderbilt in a minute. I'm on FSU plus the points, Kelly, and I'm on the under in this game. I think this is an overreaction to Florida State. I think Florida State looked ahead. This was one that we talked about on Friday. Potentially UVA was going to have an opportunity here. They did. They got the win outright in overtime. I'm not sure that FSU is going to win, but I think this is a field goal game. And I think the defenses will dominate down in Tallahassee. What's your read?
Listen, I agree with you, Clay. I want to be all over Mike Norvell as an underdog here. I really, really do. We watched that game on Friday night. I was all over Virginia. I even sprinkled a little bit on the money line. I thought, okay, here we go. Virginia got out to that early lead. Oh, boy, Miami gets caught really looking ahead. but they showed a lot of tenacity in that game. Florida State had multiple opportunities to win that game. And I do think that is because they had Miami circled here. Virginia wanted it more. Losing that game in overtime, sometimes I would argue and say, hey, they're going to lose that game twice. But no, it's still Miami. They still have a top 5 number in front of their name. Florida State beat Bama at home. If you remember, you were there. And I think that is the exact same reality we see here. I think they're going to pull the outright upset. I was kind of hoping to get over a 6 here. The Canes defense is really good, only allowing 245 yards per game. But I think FSU has a more powerful offense. We got to have Castellanos not turn the ball over, and they will get the win.
So this other game that I would say is probably at the top. I mean, look, we thought, to be fair, Texas-Florida would be an unbelievable matchup. Obviously, that has not happened. We'll get to that game, though. But Vanderbilt on the road against Alabama. Kelly, what stands out to me the most about this, aside from Vanderbilt actually being 5-0, Vegas really likes Vanderbilt, right? For Vandy to be going on the road at Alabama, a place where Bama has rarely lost over the last 15 or some odd years, and only be right around a 10-point underdog, tells you that this Vanderbilt team is not smoke and mirrors, and that Vegas is saying, you know what, they're pretty good, because traditionally this would be, a 27, a 28-point line. I mean, Bama would be well over 3 touchdowns, and I think almost always more than 24 points the favorite in this game. Nervously, that has me – let me start here. I love the over here. I don't think Vanderbilt's defense is great. I think they're going to give up points. Alabama has shown the ability to have big plays down the field. So I like the over more than I do either side. But I think I'm going to take Vandy here. They've been really good on the road in Columbia against a good South Carolina team. I understand Virginia Tech's not very good, but they went on the road in Blacksburg. Those are really difficult locations and dominated against both teams. They won last year. I don't think they're going to be intimidated. Diego Pavia is healthy. In November, I think the physical grind of the SEC schedule will catch up on Vanderbilt, but they're pretty healthy here. I'm going to take them plus the points, and I'm going to take the over in this one.
Yeah, look, here's kind of the thing. With Vanderbilt winning by, 23.5-point underdogs, 24-point underdogs last year, Clay, I don't think Alabama's going to overlook them, right? They know, okay, here's what we've seen from Diego Pavia. They've seen him before. The defensive coordinator knows what to expect. I like this Vandy team. 8-2 against the spread in the SEC in their last 10 games. They have been printing me money. So it's not like Alabama is going to overlook this team coming off that nice win over Georgia. And that's kind of where historically I'd want to be all over Vanderbilt. But Bama, since 2020 as a home favorite, 24-9-1 against the spread. And that is just like, I don't know if you can get me. I really considered Vandy early in the week. I went to bet it. And a couple guys that are far smarter than I am said, hey, look at that game just a little bit further. And I started to, and I thought, all right, let's look at that Bama defense. They held all 4 opponents to their season low yards. Under 204 yards per game. That's number 3 in college football. Vandy, well, they haven't even faced the top 75 schedule. So keep that in mind here. Vanderbilt looks good. It looks trappy. But I have a feeling it might be for a reason. I think they might be baiting us. Like you said, Vegas is loving them some Vandy. I think that's what they want us to think here. So just tread with caution here. I'm not laying it with Alabama, but I can see why everybody loves Vanderbilt.
I don't know what you think about these, but you're talking about narrative. The Kentucky-Georgia game has been tough to forecast. Kentucky's defense has actually done pretty good against Georgia the past few years. I think this is an example of I'm going to be on Georgia because Kirby Smart went after this team in the wake of this Alabama loss. I think Georgia is going to obliterate Kentucky. I don't think Kentucky's very good. I don't think they can score. I know you bet on them last week and got burned. The other one is Penn State. These are both big favorites. UCLA is a total mess. I think that coming off the loss at home to Oregon, Penn State is going to put up a lot of points on UCLA. I do not think the UCLA offense is going to have much success. So I'm laying 2 big numbers, over 3 touchdowns, basically, to win in the Georgia game against Kentucky and Penn State against UCLA.
Look, I thought about going back to the window with Kentucky here. I think this is a lot of points, Clay. And last week's final score was a little bit misleading. But let me tell you right now, 3-2 against the spread. Yeah, that's the favorite run that Georgia's been on. They might win football games at home, but they don't cover. And it's just absolutely gross. Yeah, we could argue that they're going to have a bounce back here against Kentucky. Just don't know how much they really care since losing that game to Alabama. And that is the narrative. Do teams bounce back? Well, or do they not? James Franklin's team, as you mentioned, off that soul-crushing loss. Does that keep them out of the college football playoff now that it's been expanded? Maybe, maybe not. The reality is their season is not over, but they can no longer go undefeated. You think they're going to get excited to go all the way to LA to play UCLA? I don't know. I could see it being one of those.
I get the argument. I just think UCLA is really bad. And
awful.
I think James Franklin has had a lot of these reclamation projects where he's had to get his guys back up after a disappointing big game loss. And so I really do think that they are just going to absolutely crush UCLA.
I wouldn't be shocked in the slightest. If it was like final, like the Utah UCLA final, I wouldn't be shocked in the slightest. We're going to see how good of a coach James Franklin is here. And for me, if you're named UCLA, you're not getting my money. That's it. Period. Point blank, the end. Texas, Florida, Clay. Oh, God. I do another show on Wager Talk, and I get to pick the entire slate of games we go through, right? And I went back and forth. I'm like, well, there's only 2 top 25 games. Do we want to go Texas, Florida because we know it's the SEC, it's going to get more views? And I'm like, I am so sick of talking about this Florida team, and I will sit right here and make a case for these you-know-whats, and then they will go out and they will get their asses kicked. And I'm done doing it. I'm done backing Billy Napier. I tweeted this weeks ago. I am done wasting my time and money on this team. Watch them beat Texas outright. I'm on the Texas season win total under. I had Florida circled back in July for a spot to bet on them here as a home underdog. You remember those days, Clay? I bet against your Tennessee Vols. They're as a road favorite with Florida as a home underdog because that is where they thrive. 9-1 in their last 10 against the spread as a home underdog. I don't know what to make of this team. I know that the Horns are obviously overranked, right? They're currently sitting 9th place. They were number 1 in all the preseason polls. Arch is good. Arch is not good. Arch is good until he plays, a mediocre team. And then when he plays a really bad team in Sam Houston State, all of a sudden he's good again. I don't love this spot. I don't know if Florida's quit. I wish I had some insight in the locker room. I don't know, Clay. I am so frustrated, we'll call it, with this Florida Gators team. They have all the talent in the world, solid defense. I thought they had an outside shot to win the SEC, and this is what they give me.
I am betting Florida and the under. And I understand everybody out there who tells me that I'm crazy for doing this. I don't think the overall talent gap between Florida and Texas is seismic. I also look at this and say Texas just hasn't been very good so far. Now, maybe they suddenly come out and play lights out. Maybe Arch comes out at the Swamp and throws 4 touchdown passes and runs for a couple of more. And if that happens, I will reassess the Longhorn team going forward, as you should do every single week based on what the results they put out are. But I think with 2 weeks, get healthy. The Gator defense has played well all year, Kelly. They haven't. It's the offense that's completely led them astray. If Texas turns the ball over a couple of times, which I could see, I think this will be a game in the fourth quarter. I don't think that Texas is going to completely blow them out. And also, I keep waiting. When you play big games, and Florida has a ton of them, sooner or later, just raw probability is you're going to win one of them. And I think. And so maybe it's next week against Texas A&M, kind of out of nowhere. Florida hasn't quit playing hard. If DJ Lagway played anything like he played last year, this would be a very winnable game for Florida. So, with some trepidation, I'm on the Gators, and I'm taking the under in this game and just expecting an ugly defensive battle. Okay, what other games do you like? Anything else in the college football slate that you love?
Oh yeah, I'm always looking under the radar. At least under the radar, meaning I'm leaving the SEC. So I can talk about other games. I'm going to the Big 12. Clay, I like 2 underdogs in the Big 12. The first one is UCF at home, catching 5.5. Yes, that's the same team that my poor K-State Wildcats just ran all over. But I'm betting against Kansas and Lance Leipold on the road once again. This has been profitable since Lance has been the head coach there in Lawrence. He is 8-16 against the spread, just 1-4 as a road favorite. I know the market came in early on the Jayhawks. Everybody's expecting them to bounce back after losing that game to Cincinnati. This defense has so many issues. They have been gashed for over 500 yards twice this season. You got a two-headed monster in Montgomery and Nixon in the backfield there for the Knights. I think they win this game outright. Better defense here, particularly in the top 20 in total defense, plus the points. I cannot understand how on planet Earth my Wildcats are catching 6.5 in Baylor. In Waco. I don't understand it, Clay. If I asked you who you thought was going to win the preseason Big 12, you might have said Iowa State. You might have said Texas Tech, like I said, or you might have said Kansas State, right? Utah. There's 5 teams or so in the mix. And if I told you, okay, you think K-State has a shot to make the college football playoff or at least be in the Big 12 championship game, but I'm going to give you 6.5 points against Baylor on the road, you would have scooped them up like it was like $100 bills on the ground. And here we are. K-State's losing all these terrible one-score games to teams named Army after the Aer Lingus Classic disaster. But the difference is they have Dylan Edwards back, and he was the difference maker last week. This secondary is still absolute and utter Swiss cheese. I have definite concerns about them. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. I think we're going to see Avery Johnson be able to air it out as well as be able to run, because that's what Dylan Edwards does. He opens up the running game for not only himself, but Avery Johnson. And oh, by the way, another mobile quarterback called Blake Barnett. I think this line is way too high, and I'm sure everybody's going to tell me I'm a homer, but I like K-State plus 6.5. And the last one that was not on our list, Maryland plus 6.5. We're betting against that same scenario we just talked about with Penn State. Washington, a lot of people like them plus 8. I had them on my long list, admittedly. But Ohio State dominated that game on both sides of the ball. And now they're traveling east to play Maryland. You remember a couple weeks ago, I said, hey, this is a great spot for Maryland playing Wisconsin. And it was never in doubt. A 10.5-point underdog, never in doubt against the Badgers. This is Huskies. Now, 0-4 straight up and against the spread traveling east since last year, since joining the Big 12. Rutgers, Iowa, Indiana, and Penn State. I think that Maryland is live on Saturday. I think they can get the win. I love Malik Washington. I think this kid is going to show some real promise if he doesn't get paid millions of dollars to go to the SEC.
I'm on Maryland as well. And Kelly, here is my blood bank guarantee. Mississippi State plus 14.5 at Texas A&M. Mississippi State can run the football. I think they can drain the clock. A&M has played a lot of big games already. I think Mississippi State is not the team that they're getting fired up to play in College Station. I think that so far A&M is fortunate to be undefeated. I'm not saying they're going to lose this game, but it's the kind of game that A&M has lost. They've struggled against Mississippi State in the SEC. State has had some success against them. And again, I just come back to, I think this Mississippi State team can run the football. They have 2 elite backs, and they had some success against Tennessee, turned the ball over, could have won that game. But I don't necessarily think they're going to win, but I think this will be a close game in the fourth quarter. Also, the last couple of weeks, A&M hasn't been putting up a ton of points. 16-10 over Auburn, and Auburn had 1 total yard of offense in the fourth quarter. I think Mississippi State is better than Auburn, and so I think this number is inflated. I think it's too high.
Yeah, look, Mike Elko, 4-13 against the spread as the head coach of the Aggies. I know he's had a rough go at it dating back to last year. I'm sure something has to give. Mississippi State best team against the spread in college football, covered 5 straight. I don't blame you, Clay, catching 2 touchdowns here against a team who hasn't played anybody that's been that stout defensively. Okay, so you guys put up a ton of points against Notre Dame. As you mentioned, that Auburn game, I was not impressed. I wanted to be on Auburn. I luckily stayed off for myself, but man, I just do not trust the Aggies as a favorite. And that's the bottom line here, let alone a double-digit favorite.
Kelly, good stuff. We'll be back next week on the usual Thursday. Good luck with all the visitors at your home that you are putting up right now. And anything else you want to tell the people that could potentially make them some money as we head into the weekend to come?
Yeah, ban football season weddings. That's how you're going to get to make more money, because that gives me more time to study the games. No, all jokes aside, that's all I've got for this week. You mentioned it to start, Clay. Not a great football slate. There isn't a lot of double-digit dogs I like to win outright. There isn't a lot of dogs I like, period. So lots of, we'll call it an easy bye week. We'll play 3 or 4 games, hopefully go 3-1, coast on into next week, whose slate looks significantly better.
Outstanding stuff as always. I'm Clay Travis. She's Kelly Stewart, a.k.a. Kelly in Vegas. This has been The Fade.